What's that? So, I want to talk to you guys about a little something. And what I want to talk to you about is something that I'm sure all of you guys can relate with and struggle with horribly in your life. So, when I first got started in this online content creation thing, right, back in like 2010, you would know me as like psychosis, optic psychosis. I had this very, let's call it eccentric personality, right? It was like a personality of, I just don't really give a fuck, okay? And it was true. At the time, I didn't really give a fuck about so many things, and because of which, it allowed me to be a more authentic version of myself than I've ever been before in my life. Because before that, I was a super shy and overall scared kid my entire life, right? Like, I was suicidal over the fact that I couldn't talk to girls that I liked the way that allowed me to progress the relationship forward, right? Just to give you like a super quick background thing here, it was to the point where girls would be like, oh my God, I think you're so cute, I think you're so awesome, and I was just kind of like, frozen, like, thanks, right? And so this was like my entire problem back when I was a younger kid. And so what ended up happening is fear would paralyze me, and it would ultimately stop me from being a more authentic version of myself. Like, even right now, while I am recording this video, I have an extremely hard time being completely authentic because I'm scared of what if a part of my family comes through the door, right? And they hear me talking about this. And suddenly I just want to be quiet. Like, when certain people are around, I don't want to say what I actually want to say because I'm scared of how they'll judge me. And I'm not exactly sure when this started happening again, because after the whole like childhood thing, I eventually got rid of that problem, not through study or anything, even though I studied a crap ton to try to figure it out. But that's when I started experimenting with drugs like, weed and ecstasy and stuff. And ultimately, it was the ecstasy that helped me get to that, like, I don't give a fuck attitude that some of you may know me as. And I was flying high at that moment, right? And you either loved me, you either hated me, and at the end of the day, I just didn't give a fuck, and it felt great. I'm like, I'm no longer bound by what people think about me. I'm no longer scared to such a degree that it paralyzes me when it comes to what people think about me. Now, the interesting part is as time has gone on, and I started experimenting with more drugs, specifically psychedelics like magic mushrooms. I started doing a crap ton of mushrooms and research chemicals like 4-ASO-DMT, which is just basically mushrooms. And then I started doing some LSD. Something changed after I had a bad LSD trip, and suddenly I'm like stuck in fear mode, right? But it's fear mode for a completely different reason now. Like, it's fear mode because I was now thinking about speculative knowledge that may or may not be true, but the fact that it could be true just scared the living shit out of me. And that's when I started pulling out my eyebrows, okay? And so for those of you that have watched me since like 2010, that's why I started actually wearing an orange beanie, because suddenly I felt insecure. I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? Like, now I'm ripping out my eyebrows over this anxiety. And for the record, that's also why I stopped playing video games like I was back in the day, because I literally couldn't. I was having panic attacks just sitting in my computer chair, or just sitting, period. Okay. And so I was paralyzed completely for a long time from this bad acid trip, to the point to where I could just barely function. I was ripping all my eyebrows out. It was horrible. But anyways, so the point is here is that somewhere along these experiences and my desire to make more money, I began to lose the more authentic version of myself that I used to have, right? Because if you're constantly thinking about what other people think, you are going to act in accordance with what you believe they think, okay? So for example, let's say you'll have a girlfriend, and your girlfriend comes home, and normally when she's not home, maybe you do some weird stuff, right? You think it's funny. Maybe you make some weird voices or faces in like the mirror. Like, for example, I'll do that shit all the time. I'll be like, what's the funniest type of face and ugliest face I can make, right? And so I'll be like, making all kinds of weird shit. But then somebody like a girlfriend comes, and I'll be like, just not being that way. And so it's like, why am I not being that way anymore when I'm usually that way? Why am I not talking about certain things that I usually talk about just because other people are around? And it kind of goes back into the whole, why do you dress a certain way in your house compared to when you go out, right? And so you're trying to impress people with this fake personality that you have developed out of fear, okay? And like I said, I'm no different here. Like I got pushed back into this cycle to where suddenly fear has taken over and has pretty much hijacked my most authentic personality. And it has been a massive struggle for me, okay? Especially when it comes to terms of trying to like reach a certain financial goal, right? One of the reasons I disappeared from the content creation scene for so long was because I decided personally working a job for the rest of my life is not for me. It's just, I just can't do it because it goes against, what's the word I'm looking for? It goes against how I really feel inside, okay? Like, maybe some of you can relate. For some of you, you go to this job and you go to it because you need money to survive and keep your body going, right? But deep down inside, you fucking hate that job, right? You'd rather just chill at home. You'd rather play video games, hang out with your family, jerk off. I don't fucking know what other interests you have. Maybe you want to do welding or sit in your garage and do mechanical stuff or try to program little robots in your free time. I don't know, right? We're all unique in that aspect. But the whole job thing, it was such a pain in my life that I decided that, I have to be able to make a certain amount of money to never have to work a job again, ultimately. Even if that means I have to pick up some job here and there to keep myself from being homeless potentially or whatever. But my point is that in pursuing all of this, it took away a little bit more of my authenticity. And it's because as I'm like going down this rabbit hole of learning how to make money online and all this stuff, and you run across all kinds of stuff, right? First, you run across like the methods like drop shipping, affiliate marketing, software as a service, consulting, etc., 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 etc. And then you run across the people. And this is a huge problem on the internet, and I'm sure you guys will be able to completely understand this, is you run across the people that are selling these things, right? So maybe it's somebody that runs a drop shipping company. Maybe it's somebody that owns a coaching and consulting business. Maybe it's somebody that runs an affiliate marketing business or a software business, or maybe it's somebody that runs some course information product business, okay? And you end up realizing something. They're all doing things in a very, very, very certain way. And I can't help but think, is this who you really are, though? Like, you're wearing these fancy fucking suits, but do you wear a fancy fucking suit in your house and you just walk around like, I'm not going to name any names here because, I'm not trying to get this video slayed by somebody who got too butthurt by the truth. But I'm sure you guys know some of who I'm talking about here. Like a lot of these people will be wearing fancy suits. They'll be trying to flex off their lifestyle as a part of their brand, right? And they want their brand to kind of come off as I'm a successful, this is my luxury brand and I can afford all these luxury things. And I understand the various reasons as to why they're doing it. And it ultimately comes down to sales techniques, right? Because think about this. Who are you more likely to purchase a course from? Are you more likely to purchase a course related around making money from somebody that is flexing all of this stuff that can only be acquired by money, right? Let's say like a Bentley or a mansion or a Lamborghini or just some overpriced clothes? Or are you more likely to purchase a course from somebody that's driving just like a 1990 Buick or lives in a studio apartment that's really run down for $500 per month and who just walks around, on the streets, because maybe they're homeless or something. And you're going to be like, well, I'm obviously going to purchase from the first guy. But here's the crazy part. The crazy part is the other guy might actually have the better course. And most people would never even think that, right? And it's because they're so sold on this image, okay? And this has been proven time and time again that some of the people, no names, that are flexing the hardest with their image, right, have some of the worst courses available. And that's interesting because it goes against pretty much everything everything that you've thought, right? These people will have some of the worst courses available for the most expensive prices, but based on the image that they are portraying to you with all of their overly expensive stuff, you would think, well, maybe that shouldn't be the case. But it usually is. And this brings me back to authenticity at its core. Like, these people are not focused on being authentic, okay? They're not focused on being authentic. They're focused on manipulating your perception to such a high degree that they lose their authenticity. And I get it, okay? I get it, because I've been there, I've done that to my own various degrees. And so I'm not like some super special, perfectly authentic person. And that's why I'm making this video, because it's now bugging the hell out of me, because as I've like gone down this rabbit hole of learning how to be progressively less authentic in order to manipulate viewers' perception of who I am as a person and the kind of life I live, I've become more and more unhappy. I have become more and more scared. Like, oh, well, what if they see my fakeness, right? What if they see my inauthenticness? And I think that's what a lot of you also have a problem with. Okay, so for example, a lot of you share the same problem as me, is you see all these people and you try to like mimic what it is they're doing to some degree, and suddenly you find yourself just gaining even more fear than you initially had, because now not only are you trying to overcome like the basic fears that some of you may have, like of being camera shy for various reasons, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also you're trying to overcome this fear of like exposure. Like, oh man, what if I get exposed for my fakeness, my authenticity? And so ultimately you end up not becoming a happy person, because you have in doing these actions that are not in line with your core values of being authentic, it has created this type of person that is thus inauthentic, and you can feel the what's the word I'm looking for, the discord of it all, right? Like, your entire soul, your entire being is no longer as harmonious as it should be. And I know this because it's happened to me. Like, that's why I'm even making this video, because I'm like, dude, like, what happened to me? What happened to me? Like, I went from being this little kid that felt horrible for all kinds of reasons. Then I started feeling great for all kinds of reasons. And now I'm starting to feel horrible again for all kinds of different reasons. And so it's like, what happened to me? And at the end of the day, what happened is I lost my authenticity. I lost my authenticity. I lost that childlike person that we all have when we're little kids, where we just don't give a fuck, right? Before our parents are telling us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. What are we doing? We're doing this, we're doing that. We're just fucking, fucking around. We don't give a shit, but we're happy. And then after society has slapped us again and again and again and again and again with, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Suddenly we're living in this very limited, version of ourselves that's completely inauthentic with how we want to be. Because when we were a kid, we're doing all kinds of shit. We're picking our noses. We are making weird faces. Maybe we're being loud when we want to. Maybe we're singing outside or something. Now we singing outside, fuck that, right? There's people around. What if they yell at us? Pick our nose when we want to? Fuck that. What will they say? Right? What will they say if they see us pick our nose? Call us disgusting. They're gonna say all these negative things about us. And that's what I mean. Like we've lost a degree of authenticity. And so now we're all running around being fake as fuck to various degrees. And so I suppose my ultimate point here, because, this is a completely improvised video, and I'm admittedly not the best at making improvised videos. I'm far better at making videos that I've actually had time to outline the key points I want to talk about. But I guess the ultimate point in this video is that in order to truly be happy with yourself and with what it is you're doing, whether that's regards to making money or just living your life in general, you have to be authentic. You have to be authentic. And so if you find yourself where you are doing something, let's just say in your home, and your kid comes home and suddenly you find yourself acting a different way, are you being authentic? If your girlfriend or wife comes home, are you being authentic if you start acting a different way compared to how you normally want to act? Or for example, if you're a content creator and you're making a YouTube video or an Instagram reel or something, how authentic are you being? Seriously, are you trying to hide something? For example, I'm super insecure about this stupid eyebrow crap that I have going on, where sometimes I literally rip out my eyebrows and I just can't seem to fucking help it. There's a special medical term for it and everything. But the point is that I suddenly become insecure over my looks because of this shit. But if I'm trying to hide that from you, am I being authentic? And the answer is no, I'm not. And it's because I'm trying to hide stuff. I'm trying to control the narrative, to control your perception in such a way that you only see me through a certain lens, but that lens is not the true cold hard truth of me, right? The true cold hard truth of me is that I'm not looking sexy all the time. Nobody is. The cold hard truth of me is sometimes I look ugly as hell. It's the cold hard truth is the most authentic version of yourself. And you have to be willing to share with everybody that cold hard truth of you, and let them believe what they want about you, because you don't want them to like a fake version of you. Okay? A version that is not aligned with how you actually are on a day-to-day basis when nobody's looking around. All right? Because, for example, one last example, see all these people trying to impress you with their clothes, with their suits, with whatever. But are they even being authentic if they're trying to impress you? Seriously, there's a difference between just being like, hey, I got a cool new thing, I think it's cool, I figured you'd like it too, check it out, versus, man, I'm just trying to flex this crap on you that I would normally never do under any other circumstance, unless I'm trying to manipulate your perception of me in some way for some reason. But that's all I got for now, guys. Moral of the story is you gotta learn to be more authentic, man. And I understand it's a battle, right? It's a battle where people that aren't authentic runs everything. And so I understand how compelling it is to join them. But I believe ultimately you will be a far happier person if you are authentic and you share all of your flaws and you just let it out there in the open. Who gives a fuck if you think you're ugly? Show your ugliness, right? Who gives a fuck if you're poor? Show your poorness. Who gives a fuck if you're rich? Show your richness. Who gives a fuck if you're not that smart? If you have Down syndrome, if whatever it is, show it. Be authentic. And that is what I am. That is my ultimate message here. And hopefully this has helped somebody Be like, yeah, I'm gonna be me as I currently am. And if they don't like how I currently am, then that's fine, because that just means that they were not meant to be in my life in some way, shape, or form. All right? They do not currently like me. And me, I'm a dynamically evolving thing, right? Because you aren't the same type of person you were 15 years ago compared to now. And so people have to be able to love you as you are, as you have been, and as you will be, to truly love you and accept you. And never forget that. Peace out.